Right, welcome back, Watcher. Now, time has come to do a little bit more, something substantial to the Scrambler, and it's the high level exhaust. I did buy the Scrambler, and I love the high level exhaust. That's one of the features of the bike. It's a defining feature of the bike over the three models, but I think time has come for something a little bit more street. Welcome back to Delboy's Garage. Okay, so I do like the high level. It is, like I said, a defining feature of the bike, but personally I've always liked the underslung Zard Cross. Now the Zard Cross exhaust is two downpipes underneath and a little tiny silencer under there, but at £700 I just can't afford it. Simple as that, and I don't really think that's, I think that's just too much money for some stainless steel tubes. And it's the same with the aero system. The aero system is the only replacement for this that goes alongside of the bike. I think it looks too modern. It's a big single tube. I just don't think it's had any ode to design whatsoever. It doesn't pick up the ethos of the bike. It's just, here's an arrow for a Scrambler. It's adapted for it. It's not really right. But what we have got is our good friends at TEC. The guys at TEC Bike Parts have come up with an adaptation from the normal arrow copy. They've made a little short stumpy thing called the tracker. But first thing, before I can show you any of that, show you what it's about, get it laid out, I've got to take this off. So that's the first task. Get all this off and show you a couple of little mods you have to make to fit a TEC exhaust to the Scrambler, because they're not designed to take them. I also have to take the entire foot peg assembly off, because the new exhaust is kind of finishing here from up from underneath, and this gets properly in the way. So all this kick down affair, got some very, very sexy little foot pegs for the rear, which will, again, TEC parts, and they go with the exhaust. Not expensive either, are they?
Nope.
Go. There we go, that's it. Standard one off. There, did. Use new ones. Okay, so that's the exhaust off. We've stripped the bike ready to fit the new one. Because this is a Scrambler and not a Bonneville, and the exhaust is for a Bonneville, there is a couple of modifications you have to make to the TEC exhaust, and one we have to make to the bike itself in order to fit an underslung exhaust of any kind. And that's, first of all, the mounting. So this video is really not, I think it was 35 minutes, the video we did back in April 14. Fitting the TEC exhaust itself, so you can refer to that if you want a detailed fitting video. This particular video is about the differences and how you can fit an underslung exhaust from TEC onto your Scrambler, and there are many people trying to do it, so this is pretty useful. The first thing is the mounting point. Now obviously the underslung mounting, can I have a look at this? On a Bonneville, down here, this is the mounted section. This is the welded mount that comes with the exhaust, and that's the bolt that it bolts to. This is an original fixing here. All of this is original from the factory, and that's where your standard Bonneville exhaust bolts on. Now on the Scrambler, because there isn't an underslung exhaust, that mounting isn't there, it's just a flat bolt. Now what it is, it's one of those. That's the left hand one from the other side of Penny's Bonneville. Because we put a 2-into-1, the one on the left was redundant, so I've just harvested that. That's going to go in there, and that's the mounting bolt, the shouldered specialised mounting bolt there that you need to fit it. So that goes into there, with those two rubbers. Now these parts, they are perfectly available from your Triumph dealer. You can't go to All Fix or Screwfix and buy something like that. It is a heavily specialised bolt, and it is an exhaust bolt. Just get it from your Triumph dealer. It will be on their parts list. They'll be able to access it for you. And I wouldn't think that that costs the earth. We know that factory parts always cost ridiculous money, but I wouldn't think it costs a fortune. You absolutely need that in order to fit this on a Scrambler. So the first thing I've got to do is fit the main locating bolt. You need a stepped ring spanner, 17mm, on that frame bolt underneath. And then we're going to harvest this to put back in Penny's bike, which I've taken out. There's no nut on the back, it threads directly into the frame. Okay, so that's the bolt, that's the frame bolt we're going to put in Penny's bike, where I took this from. There it goes. Back in there. Okay, if you're in doubt with this, big 8mm thread, and all these big 8mm frame bolts, 55 Newton meters if you're not sure. It's about that much. Alright, now this is not a detailed fitting video on how to fit your TEC Bike Parts exhaust to your Bonneville, because I did that already on the was it April last year? Yeah. April 14, wasn't it? Mm-hmm. So that's already done, and you can dial up that if you need that. It's a detailed video, 35 minutes long. Let me know and we can sort it out for you, it's not a problem. So I'll send you a link to it. Now at the moment, this, where are we? All I'm going to do is fit the front pipes on. So this is the usual TEC standard. It's good quality stainless tubing. You get your O2 sensor holes, you can block them up if you don't need them. They take Nissan micro sump plugs, interestingly enough. Phone call. Back in a minute. Okay, so with the left-hand pipe fitted on a Scrambler, the pipes come around the top, and this socket up here, there, is for the O2 sensor on the left-hand side. So if you're going to run your O2 sensors, you'll find that this side here, about there, on the Scrambler standard pipes, you get your O2 inlet, so you can put it in there, but it's down here at the bottom, the same height as it is on the right-hand pipe on the Bonneville system. So that's the right-hand O2 sensor, which will fit in there nicely in a few minutes. That's not a problem. But the left-hand one is about a foot too short. So the easiest way around it, there is no longer version. On the standard Bonneville, you've got a longer loom, simple as that. On the Scrambler, they've just got a shorter loom, they put the plugs in shorter. There is no way around it. There is no going and buying one of these, which is an O2 sensor, with a longer lead. It doesn't happen. And that plug there is the usual sort of factory stuff to fit. So what I'm going to do instead, path of least resistance, take the easiest option, and right up by the plug, where it's suitable, I'm going to come back down, take as much of that out of the way, pull all this down out of the way, and expose the wires. And all I'm going to do is cut them and join them. I'm just going to join a piece of wiring into that to lengthen that. So it's so simple. Just going to use permanent crimps, because crimps, in my view, are better in an area like an exhaust where it gets red hot. It's only got to get hot enough for that solder to melt, and it will just part. So a crimp is a little bit better for a hot area. So what I'm going to do with that, take that back, out of the way, and then I've got all that free. So all I have to do, there are 4 wires. Simplest path of least resistance is to do one at a time. So I'm just going to cut that, probably a nice area, probably about 4 or 5 inches back, 4 or 5 centimeters rather back. Chop that there, join in a little piece of extra wire, about a foot, to give me loads of extra loom, and then heat shrink it over the top so that that is then long enough, and that will then plug into the standard loom and reach all the way down to the exhaust. We are adapting this bike. This exhaust doesn't fit on a Scrambler normally, but this is just a small mod you have to make. So I'm going to get stuck into this. Where's my crimps pen? I'll see you in a minute.
On your desk.
Right, there we are. Just route it all carefully. I've put about a foot of extra wire into the system, into that little harness, and I've used this plastic wrap over conduit to kind of keep it in one place rather than using tape, which I think looks a bit crap. And 4 little crimp connectors, all heat shrunk. If there's an issue, I can get straight to them and just route it back in where it goes. I'm going to use my absolute favourite kind of clips. These are the Suzuki wiring loom clips. Just come in there, plug that in. Where are we? Dun 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 dun. That's that one, I think. There it is. There we are, that's not nicely plugged in, and I'm just going to pop that round. Make a nice install. Like all these things, when you do something on your bike, if you make a really nice install of it, take your time, make a lovely job of it, and don't rush it, don't fudge it, just make it look good. And when people observe your bike, when people they admire the upgrade or the mod you've done, you feel confident about it, you feel good about it, because you did it. People say, wow, where'd you get that done? Did you book it in with the dealer? You can say, I did it, which is cool. Right, that's that all plugged in. Now I'm going to pop the tank back on, and then we get the pipes installed. Right, in your kit, just going to put the pipes together now. You get, when you buy this exhaust system, you get a pair of new gaskets with it, which is important to replace them. In the past, I've reused them a second time, and I do get my ears chewed out for that. You shouldn't really. So come around the other side. I'll show you what to do first. Okay, clean out the port itself from any old cack that was in there, and all I do is pop a little smear of silicone in, top and bottom. Nothing much. It's not to seal it. This is not. All I'm using there is, I'll use this for more assembly in a minute. Silicone sealant, Gamville black silicone, and if you look on there, before anyone says, withstands extreme temperature. This is a high temperature silicone. You can use it for any number of things. And while I'm doing it today, that just goes in there, and I just bed the gasket on it. It stops it falling out when you're trying to assemble the exhaust and you're jangling it around and trying to get it seated. It just sits it in there. It's so hot there, it probably vaporise in the future, but it doesn't matter because it's in there. All right, so that's the gasket installed, and we'll just put the pipe on top of it in a minute. Okay, the other one. That's it. One over the other. Now the fit on these is absolutely lovely. You do not have to put sealant or paste in there. You can put some black silicone in, just as an assembly as I do. Just put it on the inside and slide it in. It aids and assists the assembly. You can put it in the right way around as well if you like. It's a little bit wriggle and push, and at times when you look at the angle of the curves, it looks like it doesn't fit, but just bear with it, and it does. Leave everything at the head loose. Just that's why we stick those, or just seat those seals on a little bit of silicone, so that when you're faffing around like this, they don't get dislodged or move or anything, and they stay in place. Push them in, and just have a full nut. So you've got a full nut on, but there's loads of movement because you need it to get all this wriggled in place. Both O2 sensors are in place now and done up nicely. All the wiring is away from the heat source, so don't have any of the O2 sensor wiring touching the pipe, quite obviously. Okay. Here's the remainder of the kit. You get a couple of springs with these rubber covers. It just keeps the weather from getting to the spring too much. And just push them over. That's the same as the Akropovich exhaust, or Akropovic, whatever you want to say it. They do the same sort of thing with the springs. And you get these as well. These are O2 sensor hole blanks. So if you're not going to run your O2 sensors, you get that little sump plug. You can't buy that. That's a proper plug, not just a bolt. That goes in, and just put that in instead. And they also work in your air injection. Nissan micro sump plugs, if you haven't got them, they're just the same. And then that goes spring adapting tool. And all we do is put one on the bottom. And then one on the top. There we are. And that will just hold them in. Now, they're just a push fit, honestly. So leave everything alone until everything's fitted, till the exhaust is all fitted in, and then you'll know exactly where they have to go and all settle in before you tighten everything up. Right, next, the most important bit. Okay, now this is the difference. I think that is delicious. I truly do. The quality of that is outstanding. You've got a baffle, obviously, which will come out before I even run the engine. The welding, just come and take a close look, man. Oh my god, exhaust system meets. even got regulation stamp on there. The welding is amazing. I've seen these exhausts up against Arrow systems, and honestly, I cannot tell the difference. They are the same. As far as I'm concerned, the quality is the same, the finish, the workmanship, the steel. The only difference is the price. Something like £500 difference in price, and that is going to go on there. What do you think, Pen?
That is gorgeous.
It's a bit sexy, isn't it?
I like that.
There is a little modification to make now, and that is here. We have this situation where on the Scrambler, as much as that almost hit or almost fits, you've got this in the way here, this master cylinder for the rear brakes, and obviously that's on the Bonneville, that's not in there, so I now need to make a little dent in the exhaust so that that fits, and then the whole thing can be bolted up nice and tight. What do you reckon, Pen?
That's gorgeous.
Sexy or what?
Mm.
Right, let's get it adjusted. Alright, so as an idea, I'll show you what I mean. In there, that ring is the mounting ring, and what you can see through it is the bolt that it has to go on. So it's in the correct position there, but as you can see, there's this interface is a little bit too much. I need about a 5 or 6 mil gap there. That fits neatly in there too. So the whole thing fits fine. Everything's fitted up nicely. There's a nice gap all the way up on the pipes there. It's beautiful. And that there, where am I in? That's in the right place too. It's just this. So I'll give that to you, Pen.
Mm-hmm.
All I need to do now is mark, holding it as close as I can to where it's going to sit, mark where it's touching. Comes out there. Right. Now to make the dent in it. Now obviously hitting it with a hammer is a bit shit really, isn't it? Not the sort of thing you should be doing on your brand new exhaust. And all you need to do is make a crease in there. I'll show you a trick. Okay, the simple trick is I've drawn the line there along the length. That's where it touches, just inboard of that. Obviously you could just use a ball peen hammer, but what I'm going to do instead is a rubber handled screwdriver just against it, nice and soft, and just little tiny by little, and it does put a dent in it. You can feel the flat coming, but it is so subtle, and it's not putting any marks in it at all. So hopefully it will just be like it's been squashed in by a press, which would be the best thing. And it needs to be about 3 or 4 mil at the most, just to clear that master cylinder so that the heat of this doesn't boil the brake fluid. Brake fluid is used to getting hot. It's perfectly okay to get hot because obviously the brakes get red hot under use. But too much can melt the seals. There we go, just gently. And what I've done with this, just made a curve in there by making a gap in the workmate, making a curve to hold it so that the dent doesn't appear on the other side, just on where I want it. Right, as you can see, it takes a fair while because each hit you're getting the tiniest little movement, just a tiny little bit of the metal is dressing inwards. You don't want any big dents in it. It's just a squash, you just want to squash it in, and there we are. That's after about literally 15 minutes of just gently just finessing it in with a rubber handled screwdriver. You can use a broomstick if you want, but you might end up with a few marks. And if you come more gently, you can just almost make it look seamless, like it's meant to be there. Should we offer it up then? Mm-hmm. Let's see if that works. So there's the dent. Can you see it in the light?
Yep.
There's the dent you need. It's kind of between there and there. If we put that on now, it should, hopefully. Very rare these things go first time, first fit. But let's have a look. There we are. Right. Okay, just a light there. If you can see up there. Now that's holding the exhaust where the bolt's going to hold it. Can you get down low enough, Ben? That's the kind of gap you want, about 6 mil, and it's along the length of the pipe. Probably 5 or 6 mil all the way along, and that's pretty cool. And when you fit that, hold that, easy like there. When you fit that there, once you fit the exhaust, the dent's invisible anyway, you can't see it. So there is a small concession to the fact that this is not designed for a scrambler, but with that adjustment, it fits on fine. So what I'm going to do now is put that bolt mount through there, and I've got some really sexy foot pegs to show you. Okay, now check these out. These are TEC Bike Parts as well. The rear foot peg, let me just show you this a minute. This is the standard rear foot peg, and this drop down coming out here means you can't fit this exhaust. It will just hit there. It will be horrible, it will look nasty, but that is absolutely glorious. And all it does, it bolts in from the back like that. Once the exhaust is bolted in as well, that just bolts on there and produces a fold up foot peg. They stick out all the time, they don't stay folded up, but they're just a sexy little thing that's going to sit neat like that, completely out of the way. And it's always down if you want to stand on the back pegs. And why would you stand on the back pegs? There we are, so we're going to pop those on at the same time. Now the exhaust itself, there's your shoulder bolt, goes through, that holds inside there, bush on the back gives it a rubber mounting, and a similar thing goes up in here from that original bush there. Put it on in there. Okay. And there, goes up on the inside. And just fit it together until that bolt finds its way home. And there it is. It's going to need that. Oh, beautiful. I thought for a minute I might have to take the foot peg off, but none of it. There it is. I'm going to be straight in there and then just drive that home. Okay, now the bush up in top, got the whole thing in place, all fasteners in, springs on, that bush is in place in the centre, everything's ready to go, the fastener is almost done up, and we've just got this back section now, and you've got this ring here which sits neatly inside the back of this, and all you have to do, that's the bush that would have originally gone through there that holds the exhaust on, or it's that one. It fits in several places, but that bush is what you need. It's quite a useful piece of kit. It fits perfectly. If you put the bolts supplied with the foot peg in the back. That bush fits neatly inside there, and it gives you what doesn't look enough. It gives you about 6mm of thread. But if you check these out, the way they work, there's a pin there or that they swivel on, and you've only got about 6 or 7mm. So as long as that's, screw that foot peg in place till it's uppermost, and then spanner. What size is it, Pen?
12.
You are just so good. You freak me out. You true, you do. Hold that up. That holds it still, and then just wind that home. So that's pretty much there. Now, once that's in place, do it up from the rear forwards. Don't have to over tighten these things. That's done. Shoulders. That bolt is a metal shoulder, so as soon as it's nipped up, you want to bang, just nip that up like that. There we are. It is a frame bolt. The frame bolt, the reason they've done it that way is they don't bolt it into the frame. You get this shouldered thing there. Can you see it there? Mm-hmm. You get that is the frame bolt. That goes into 55 newtons. This is just a bolt that holds the exhaust, so that can just be nipped up. And now, just leaves the business of doing up the cylinder head bolts. And I always give them a little jiggle about. Just let the gaskets and the face of the exhaust tube settle against each other and kind of wriggle into place. And it just means getting hold of it and just giving it a little shake, making sure that it's fully seated before you bolt it up tight. And you can look up the torque settings on these. 12, I think. Don't quote me on that, I'm not sure, I haven't checked that one. But I'm going to do all this up, because I know all you want to do is hear it run. So I'm going to do it up, drop it off the bench, and show you what it sounds like.
I want it.
You want it?
I want it, yeah. That is awesome.
Alright, let's upset all the neighbours if we can.
One of those, please. Awesome.
Okay, fun and games to one side. That was nice, wasn't it? Do you like that?
Oh, it's
It
gorgeous.
sound beautiful?
Stunning.
There is no two ways about it. That sounds outrageous. Absolutely glorious. Now, like all these stainless exhausts, when you fit them, wipe them over with some WD-40. I did this just before I started it up, and I'm going to do it now after it's run for the first time. There's always a lot of engineering residue on them from factoring, manufacturing, that sort of thing, and obviously your own greasy paws. So just wipe all that stuff off before you start, then let it dry before you fire it up. There we go. It's going yellow already. These do actually discolour. They'll go a lovely shade of yellow, purple. Penny's has got like a purple look to it. Now, as far as remapping is concerned, I know the questions are coming. This is the TEC Tracker exhaust. It's basically a cut down version of the Arrow 2-in-1. However, there has been some very clever baffling gone on. You heard it just a few minutes ago. It sounds absolutely glorious. It's got a very dead solid sound. Actually, what it sounds a little bit like, it's got that kind of V-twin Husqvarna Nuda sound, and you know who rides one of them. It does have, and I'm going to so enjoy rev bombing traffic, and I almost think I've probably lost my Scrambler. I think someone's having for a little ride on this. You will need to remap your bike. If you've got a standard map at this point, before you start, then you will need to remap your bike. If you run a universal map from Triumph, that's okay. The Arrow map is perfect for it, or any of the other Zard map, Zard Cross, they'll all work. They'll all run fine. I've fired this up, and I've got no engine management light. It's absolutely fine. So there's a couple of things you have to do. You have to lengthen the left-hand wiring for the left-hand O2 sensor if you're going to run your O2 sensors. If you're going to eliminate them, then that doesn't matter at all. But if you lengthen it, it's very simple. Just put a length of wire on each, pinch it, heat shrink it, use whatever method of lengthening the wire you choose that you trust, and do that. Make a good job of it. Tidy the wiring away. You have to dress this little dent underneath there so that there's at least a 6mm gap between your brake master cylinder and the exhaust. If you want to move that brake master cylinder, if you want to put it up here and fit a Bonneville kit or a Thruxton setup, then that would be probably even better, and I may well do that later on because, you know, it's all down there a bit clunky. But there we are. That's it. You have to change your rear foot pegs, and TEC supply these really sexy little ones quite cheaply, so you put those on. They look as if they're non-existent, but they do the job. Going to be changing the front ones very shortly. We've got carb tops to change as well. Just going over a few little bits and pieces. What do you think, Pam?
I think it's stunning.
And that's all. I think that's anything else.
That's it.
Yes, I think that's enough waffle. Any more questions, stick them in the comments box. TECBikeParts.com, £199. TEC Tracker exhaust. Sex in tubing. Take it easy, ride safe. See you next time.